So apparently Gareth Southgate is going to remain as the manager of the England national team. And let me say for the record that England not sacking Gareth Southgate, they will regret it, because here's the thing, there's this great saying in football called that the English invented it, but the Brazilians, they perfected it. Because you look at Brazil, for example, they sacked Tite as their manager. And while England, on the other hand, they chose to retain the manager, especially whose lineup selections, let's just say, basically ended or basically ruined England's chance of winning the Euros, if I'm being honest here. Because here's the thing with Gareth Southgate, man, and especially England, in other words, the English FAs, that I feel like they always like to play favoritism, and instead of, basically just doing whatever they think, whatever other teams are doing to help their teams win, but for the England national team, I guess you could say that's not the case here. And I guess that's probably a big reason why Brazil, they are always 5 steps ahead of England at the World Cup, especially the World Cup, because for England, man, let me tell you something. The last good manager that England have had that made a big impact for the team and actually a difference was Sven-Göran Eriksson, okay? Because all the other managers outside of Sven-Göran Eriksson for England in the last 16 years have been pretty mediocre, to say the least. Well, Gareth Southgate, he had that run with England at the Euros, but let's be honest, man, England's run at the Euros was based off of luck, just because first of all, England, they never had to travel outside of England for any of their Euro matches. They were just able to sit comfortably at home and train at home without having to fly across Europe to play at a different venue. And that's why I say that England at the Euros, man, their Euros run was just really based off of luck, if you want to know my honest opinion. Just because I feel like that if England had to travel like how other nations did during the Euro 2020 tournament, then I don't think England would have made it to a Euros final. But since they were playing at home, they just got really lucky with being able to make it to a Euros final, where they bottled it against Italy on penalties, just because, like I said before, Gareth Southgate's penalty selection, he completely screwed up on it, in my honest opinion, the way how I see it. And I think after that, England, they should have sacked Gareth Southgate right then and there when they bottled it on penalties. But for them to still maintain Gareth Southgate even after they lost in the quarters to France is just absolutely laughable, to say the least, because there are far better managers available than Southgate, like Pochettino, Zidane, especially Zidane. Speaking of him, I read that he's been linked with the managerial role for the Brazil national team. So that would be pretty insane if Brazil were to get Zinedine Zidane. And then there's also Tite, who got sacked as the manager for Brazil, and I think Tite is a way better manager than Gareth Southgate is. Like, I can name a few managers that are better than Gareth Southgate that are just basically, managers that I think would do a way better job with the England national team than Gareth Southgate would. Because here's the thing with Gareth Southgate, he always likes to play favoritism, and then, in terms of selecting players for the England national team, and then England wonder why they never win any trophies on the international level, is because of just the favoritism, man. And that's what I think is holding back the England national team, because, if England were actually serious about wanting to win a trophy for the first time since 1966, they would have sacked Gareth Southgate as soon as they bottled it on penalties against Italy. But for them to allow him to decide his future with England just goes to show you here that they still are playing favoritism, and I can't wait to see how England are going to bottle it at the next tournament, if I'm being honest here. Because as somebody that watches the England games, if I was in charge of England, I would have basically just sacked Gareth Southgate right after that Euro final and maybe replaced him with a far better manager right now, like Pochettino or Mourinho, Zidane, to name a few, because those managers, let me tell you, if any of those managers that I just mentioned would be managing the England national team, I think England would already have a trophy by now. Because Southgate, look, he had his chance, but he screwed it up at the Euros. That should have been the call to sack him, but they chose to maintain him for this World Cup. And I guess you could say that like 10 years from now on, we will be looking back at those England teams and say, okay, those England teams have really underperformed. I mean, they've really, in other words, well, not underperformed, but underachieved. That's what I meant to say. And just this move, man, I personally am not a fan of this move. And yeah, like I said before, can't wait to see how England are going to bottle it at the Euros. Maybe they will win the Euros, I don't know. But this move right now, for them to not sack Southgate, is downright just stupid and just absolutely freaking idiotic, to say the least. That it makes you wonder here that Brazil, the reason why they are always 5 steps ahead of England in football is because they don't play favoritism. They want to win. They do whatever they feel like is going to help their team win trophies, while England, they just continue continue to play favoritism, even though they haven't won a trophy in over, what, 50 years now. They still continue to make the same damn mistakes, and it's really interesting to see how England are going to screw up at the next tournament, if I'm being honest here. Despite me watching the team, this decision to maintain him as manager is absolutely dumb. So that's all I gotta say.